Zlurpcast!
Five people. That's weird. $5 footlongs. You know, when we have five, you know it's gonna be the kind of party you want to stick your dick in the mashed potatoes. This one, it's no exception. Biran and Valdric, Xtreme, and myself, and now we have Ryan. Ryan, do you have a funny nickname?
I don't.
RC.
I'm sorry.
RC.
Royal Crown,
Burger.
Railroad Crozen.
Yeah, Crozen.
You want to be Railroad?
It doesn't matter.
Uncle Bill's waitress will say, and I quote, "Where's Burger today?"
Oh yeah. Can we just call you Hamburger?
Sure.
Okay. And I'll tell you what, just from a comedic perspective, the word hamburger is 1,000 times funnier than just burger. I don't know why the word ham is just funny. So hamburger. If you're okay with that, Hamburger, we'll call you Hamburger.
Whatever. I might forget. But
I went to school with a kid whose last name was Heineman because people called him Heine. One guy goes, "Hey Heine, can I just call you Butt?" And he got mad. It was like,
well, he could have called.
Hey,
he could have
Heine,
said something
can I
worse
call you
instead of
Butt?
Heine. He could have said Heine.
Heine, that's true. He says, "Hey Heine, can I call you Butt?" He's like, no. He did it anyway.
The kids today know that.
Heine was the robot in Get Smart.
What a gets
Remember that show, Get Smart?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shoe phone.
Yeah, the robot in Get Smart was called Heine.
Heine, that's right. Yeah.
Do kids today know that's a slur? Do you think?
No. And when I was watching it as a kid, I didn't either. So
If you're almost at a slur, do you say missed it by that much? You just like right on the edge of the slur.
None of our listeners. Well, some of our listeners might know that line. You know,
Well,
Get Smart was a good show. I liked it as a kid.
Didn't they do a movie, like a new movie?
yeah,
With
with
Steve Carell.
Michael from The Office.
Yeah,
Okay.
Steve Carell was in it.
And Anne
It was
Hathaway.
okay.
I never
Yes,
saw
I
it.
think you're right. Yes.
Did they also do an Inspector Gadget movie, a new one?
Yeah, with Broderick.
Matthew Broderick. Yes, you're correct.
I didn't see either one. I thought that was funny that, like, you know, everything's like a remake, and it's like
I
let's
saw
just do.
I saw clips of the Get Smart movie, and it was okay. I never saw the whole thing.
I think I did, but I don't remember it other than it was okay.
As growing up with a lot of Nick at Night, I really enjoyed Get Smart a lot. So.
Yes, I'm also a big Anne Hathaway fan. Most
Okay,
people
you're
don't
the
know that
one.
about me, but I am.
You're the one. I was looking for you. I heard about you. Today on Zlurpcast, we're covering a game that's with a capital G because games are what originally drove this show. As we stopped playing games, we lost our focus. Ryan, Railroad, Hamburger, Double R is back to say, guys, we probably should talk about a game. Then, like he did that, like dot. So I clicked see more, and then I get to the bottom, and it says it's Mantic, and I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. But Ryan, you're gonna tell us why it's not a fuck, dude moment, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I would love to tell you why it's not a fuck dude moment.
Not a fuck, dude moment. Because when I first I was like, oh, we're gonna talk about a game. I clicked to see more. I got sucked in, and I'm like, oh, it's Firefight, and I was like, what's Firefight? Question one for you. I thought Warpath never came out.
No, it's inconclusive.
Okay.
Never seen it in the wild.
So we never got to the bottom of, it's like, who shot JR? We never got to when does Warpath come out. So we just pivoted and said, let's make a new game.
Is Warpath
That seems
like?
to be the
Is Warpath like in 40K those two Space Breed chapters that just say redacted?
Yeah, I think Warpath are the Lost Legions, you know, and Firefight. Now, I'm going to go with my timeline, and Ryan, feel free to jump in as the Firefight aficionado of the team here. Mantic wants to come out with Warpath, their expanded game beyond Dead Zone with their sci-fi universe, and they try to make like squad-based, like Kings of War, And then they want to do model by model, like 40K, because they want to give you both options, or maybe they couldn't pick a lane or whatever. And then I kind of stopped following it. And it seems like out of nowhere, Firefight won. I never even saw the battle occur between the two games. Is that how you remember Firefight coming into existence?
Yeah, it seems about right. They want to do a mass battle, and then like I think it was it during the campaign where they were like, "Hey, we also have this other thing we're working on."
Firefight was the other thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Firefight was the other thing.
Yeah, Firefight was the side hustle to Warpath.
Yeah,
And then out of nowhere,
sense.
I didn't get it, because as someone who's played other Mantic games and then played Games Workshop games, I thought it was cool. They found their little spot in the market of, let's do epic, but with full-size models and, just massive armies on those like troop or trays and that kind of thing. And then I just stopped paying attention out of nowhere. Hey, we're releasing Firefight. It's a new game. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of interest right off the bat. It was like another soured Mantic moment. And it sucks, because when you have those moments, you might miss out on a pretty cool game. And I think some people might be missing out on this one, because you do think it's a pretty cool game, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a very cool game.
And they really kind of missed the boat, because when Warpath basically was supposedly released, it was at that time when it was Warhammer 40K 7th edition, but we knew 8th was coming out, and we knew 8th was going to be totally different. And so nobody was buying anything for 40K, because you don't want to buy something because it might suck in 8th edition. So, nobody was getting anything. No one was really playing 7th edition as much. There wasn't as much excitement because everyone's just speculating about 8th edition, and there was a void, and Warpath could have potentially filled that void, and it didn't.
The same void that was there with Fantasy.
Yeah.
In a sense. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and that Kings of War actually did fill.
Yeah, it wasn't as big of a gap, we'll say.
No. But it still was.
It was enough.
It was an end. It was a crack in the armor, so to speak.
It really was.
Was it a chink in the armor?
I would say a chink in the Mark VI armor, Biran. Yeah. The Corvus armor. And
but not the Corvus Valley armor.
No, that's a different one. And they just kind of went away. And it gets relaunched as just Firefight. So to someone now saying, why would I play a 40K clone? What's the answer?
No, it's not a 40K clone.
Not even remotely.
All right. That's a good answer. Visually, it looks like it. It's not once you delve in a little bit, right?
Yeah, the like seeing it on the table, like if you just see like a photo of it, all science fiction games of that scale all look like 40K, and this one just looks like the four stripe Adidas 40K when you see a photo of it.
Are you going to tell me why that fourth stripe is better?
Yeah.
If I was gonna boil it down to 2 words, I would say alternating activations.
Okay. So walk me through. I don't want you to have to do like rules wise, but as far as the overall scope of the game, 40K was always the full on turn. Do everything, and sometimes there are those moments. I'm gonna go take a dump. Let me know when you're done, and I'll come back, and it's like, oh man, you haven't even finished moving yet. This feels like you're still in the game. Do that alternating activations, correct?
Yes, it is a much faster game, and you are more engaged moment to moment, and you are I'm not gonna say constantly making decisions even on your opponent's activation, but you are occasionally making decisions on your opponent's activation with charge reactions and stuff like that, or in my case conceding in the middle of the first round of the game because Mike destroyed a third of my army in as many activations. but yeah, I feel like it's more tactical, I think, than 40K because of the back and forth, and you're reacting. It's more reactive. It's tactical because it's more reactive. So you're constantly reacting and watching your plans go up in smoke and having to adapt in real time, rather than, you get a turn where, say, you have a gun line, you're against a gun line, and then just your entire army or half your army disintegrates before it leaves your deployment zone, which again sort of happened in our game.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened to you? What you described sounded like one of my 40K games.
Well, actually, the thing that really pushed me over the edge in that one is I had a unit of Kalishi that charged Mike's dudes, killed one of them, and then got wiped out in return on this counterattack.
Worth it?
No, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Oh, man. Hey, at least you got to wrap up early, like Biran always says.
No, we just reset the board.
Yeah, we just said we're just going to start over.
Re-rack.
Same armies.
But
again,
everyone knows the second game doesn't count.
Yeah. Again, we're still kind of learning, so.
But no matter what, though, that second game, that's bullshit. In the books, you got that one.
You did get it.
Yeah, it's in the books. It's done.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what. Like, let's play again. Since we already spent the night, we're already out. That's fine. We're just playing along, though.
It's just for fun, the goof.
Yeah, but the first game was not. That counted.
That one was for all the marbles.
Yeah,
that was for Grognard champion, firefight champion on that day.
You guys playing for pink slips, like full army? Army for army?
No, nobody wants more of this stuff in their house than they already have.
So besides a smoother gameplay of it all, when it comes to building your armies, you're still picking your faction. Is there requirements to, I can't take this unless I have this, that kind of stuff?
Yes, you have to have so you have to have a leader, and you have to have, for every specialist unit, you need to have a troop unit. Okay. And then what's the rule for the support? Is it you need a troop for every support unit? You need a troop and a leader unit? Was that the rule? I think it's
the troops have to be, for every troop, you can get either a specialist or a support.
I feel like the support requires more guys.
Yeah, I could be wrong on that.
We're not.
I actually use the Mantic Easy Army. They've actually partnered with Easy Army, so it's more official.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I didn't pay as much attention to those rules because Easy Army has it correct, and if he says no, then I don't do it. So
it's any two non-support units will unlock a support slot.
Okay, so a specialist can unlock
a specialist and a leader, a specialist and a troop, or a troop and a leader can unlock. So it's pretty simple. You don't have any of the like the 40K battalion bonuses or anything like that, or
it kind of forces you to put a balanced army out there.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't, but I mean, you're not gonna like swamp the board with the like their garbage looking tanks. Yeah, it's not a parking lot game.
You think the tanks are garbage?
Garbage looking, yeah, they're terrible.
Isn't there a dwarf tank with a dwarf head on it? That seems pretty badass.
I think they look ridiculous.
I like them. I do.
I like it too. It looks like a battle beast vehicle with like the dwarf tank. I don't know why.
Or the Thundercat vehicle that has the paw.
Yeah, with or the T-Man with the flap wheels. So are you, Ryan? Are you saying the like the flyers? Because that's primarily what I see a lot is the vehicles. A lot of them are flyers, right?
Yeah, the Styrians have a flyer, the Marauders, and actually the Vermin do not have a flyer. I think everything else does.
Do the dwarves do too?
And actually, they don't either.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a lot of tanks, but they don't have.
Vermin fly underground, correct?
No, they actually don't, but the Vermin do.
Okay. Oh, sorry, that's what maybe you didn't hear
Yeah, they
me.
have the tunneler.
Okay,
which is
tunnelers,
yeah.
So gameplay wise, I mean, can you knock the game out in 2 hours or less?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every game I've played has been played in under 2 hours.
Okay.
And that's set up, playing, and
Post-game
throwing your
talk.
shit back in the box. So
What's the average model count?
it depends on what army you're playing. The Veermen and the GCPS are kind of horde armies. So when I was in a 1,000-point game, my GCPS, which is basically guard, had 30, I'd say 50 models.
Oh, that's not even a lot.
Yeah.
How many
But that's only
active-
a 1,000-point game, which is small.
Okay.
That's a small game.
Well,
But,
that's the
you know-
standard game in the book, though. 1,000
Yeah.
points.
Is what?
That's the standard size in the book.
Really? I think
Yeah.
1,500 is going to become the
Is
standard.
Is this game not
Will it
intended for
become a
large?
standard? Will it be played enough for a standard to be established?
Like there would be a
No.
Yeah. But okay, so comparing that, when I was playing the Enforcers, I had, I'd say 35 models.
So you had what? You had
Say-
6 activations in that army, right?
Yeah, I had 3. I had I had 3 basic units, two regular guys, and one of the hand-to-hand combats. The guys with the rocket launchers, and the 2 leaders.
Safe to say, whatever you guys play is the standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like whatever you decide your next game is, that's the standard.
So I think I probably had about 35 models too.
Yeah.
But I had 10 activations because some of the steering units are smaller.
Like a weapons platform is one activation type stuff.
Yeah. So their weapon drones are there's 2 in a unit. But even the ciphers, there are 3 ciphers for a base unit before you start adding guys.
Is Kalishi like 5 or?
They're 5 guys. You go up to 10.
They're girls though, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we don't assume.
Both. Question, Hamburger, for on your army, Asterians. Is it mostly robots? Is that how it is? One guy controls them all with his mind? Is that the story?
I actually think the army is most. I think most of my stuff is robots.
except for the Kalishi
The
That's
Kalishi are
and the
Aren't robots.
Matsudans.
The fat lizards,
turtle
the
guys.
Kalishi are not robots. Now, do the
So
fat
that's
lizards
their
still
whole
have
thing,
weird
'cause it's-
honor rules like they do in Dead Zone? Where
They don't.
okay.
They do not.
That's the honor rule is what we refer to as Blood Bowl professionals as a nega trait.
Hmm.
Yes.
You can't hit people while down.
Honor roll?
Honor
Honorable.
rules.
Oh, honor.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant you were on the honor roll.
Yeah, they're like samurai fat samurai lizards.
Okay.
They look cool though. It's one of their better models, I think.
Are those the Matsudan guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Matsuden.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't think I
dreadball,
like
too.
the way, unless I saw some different models, I don't think they look good to me.
I think they look great.
Unless I'm thinking, are there Dreadball versions too?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a whole team of those.
Do those look stupid?
I don't think they're bad.
I
Are you
saw
confusing
something
them
with
with
that.
the thick armadillo guys?
I saw some Dreadball guys that look like Stegosaurus plates on their backs, and I thought they looked kind of goofy. I didn't know they made their way into Firefight too. That's why.
yeah.
These guys have like turtle shells, I think.
No, that's the pterodons. And
Yeah. the
Oh,
pterodons
yeah,
are
yeah,
bigger,
no.
yeah.
These
I
just
think
look
I like those. I like the
Godzilla-y.
Pterodons, cool.
They look like Godzilla samurais.
Yeah.
So how do they fit with your army? Because
They're
I thought they
mercenaries.
were like oh, okay, so it's just like hired guns, like Rebs, right?
Yeah.
They're part of the Asterian Empire, I guess.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, like kind of
I'm
think
not-
of them as Groot for Tau.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what do you have for the different races then? I take it all the dead zones are ported over?
Not yet.
Not yet. There's no nameless. So the factions are, you've got the GCPS and the Enforcers, the Marauders, the Plague, the Veermen, and the Asterians and the Forge Fathers.
Okay.
That's it. So
Nameless never had their own
Nameless, I'm
force.
sure will come.
Did they ever
What?
have their own force in Dead Zone?
Who?
The Nameless. They never had their own force
Yes.
in Dead Zone, did they?
In the
So-
new edition, they
Yeah.
When we played a lot, Biran, they didn't back that, but that
But
was
the
a
new one
newer.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Rebs were cool in Dead Zone because it's like a mixture of everything. There's not an army because it's like, what do you use for them? I guess.
Yeah.
maybe
can do a
they'll,
Rebs
maybe
army.
they'll come up with cool.
I mean, theoretically, you can just GCPS with some mercenaries.
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of
Throw some aliens
close
in
to
there,
that, I
sure.
guess. Throw some Grogans. This is, you said, relatively quicker kind of game. You've got those factions there. Is this something that you're building an army for a certain mission, or have you guys been playing a lot of just like fight things?
The first one we played was a fight thing just to figure out, and then we did one of the scenarios.
How are the
And you-
scenarios? Pretty
Yeah,
fun?
it was a bunch of scenarios. You know what? The scenario we played, pretty awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of the scenario, it's like Dead Zone. Some of them are objective based. Some of them are because of Dead Zone is very scenery centric. There's a lot of rules about buildings and holding buildings and what's the capacity of a building. And some of the scenarios deal with, the objective is holding a building.
Mm.
So
Does that rules wise, is it pretty smooth? Because I remember, in the past, whenever 40K tried to do building like city fight, urban type, like it always became a mess. How did they treat that kind of stuff in this game?
it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just basically to move up a level. It's an advance action, a short action. Again, like Dead Zone, they have short actions and long actions. So you just kind of move up and just assume there's kind of stairs there or something. And so they simplify that pretty well.
Like when you get to a building, there's no measuring. You're just kind of almost like mini Dead Zone in a way.
Well, yeah, you can advance into a building. So
How are
Yeah.
the dice mechanics compared to Dead Zone? Are they similar at all, or?
There's no exploding eights, and no, they're not. They're actually not. No, they're not similar. They use D8s, which is awesome. But Dead Zone, like your all your stats are the number of dice you have, or no, you start with 3 dice, and then all your bonuses you add dice or subtract dice, and this isn't like that at all. You have like a target number you're looking to hit. It could be modified by cover. And then you have a target number to hit to wound. And then that's basically it, right, Mike?
yeah,
Armor saves or no, or is that done away with?
No armor saves.
Nice.
that's the wound roll. It's like in Kings of War. So you roll to hit, and so just say you shoot on a 5+, so you're going to hit on every roll of 5 or better. And then you take all the ones you hit on, and then you roll on their armor. So if their armor is a 6+, you need a 6+ to wound. If it's a 7+, you need 7+.
From
to
like a dice economy standpoint, Kings of War, or I think Warcry, we talked about that, right?
Mhm.
Where you're getting more accomplished with less work.
Yeah, and you are doing all the dice rolling. So for like tournament play, it's not I roll to hit, and then you roll to save. So you gotta your opponent, it's all you rolling those dice. So if there is a time limit, like in Kings of War, it's if you're faster rolling dice, more efficient with it, then you get more time.
Would you say that if you took the Kings of War rules and Dead Zone rules and went like this, it is the game?
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's not. That's pretty close.
Is
Yeah.
there like nerve checks and things like that, or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
At the very end of the round, if your unit is what's called broken, which means you've lost more than half of your models, then you have to take a nerve test. And
From starting or that turn?
from starting.
Okay.
So you'd have to
So-
continue.
So if your unit's
So-
got 11 models, you need to lose 6 before you have to worry about a nerve test.
So once you're broken, you're always broken.
Yes.
Unless you get guys back.
Yes.
Oh, you got undead in this shit? What's going
Yeah.
on?
man.
Well, it's you know, there are some medics that can
Reinforcements.
actually heal wounds and bring models back, like Ice and Fire.
Okay.
It's a lot rare. Ice and Fire, it happens, you know, you got a unit with three models, and at the end of the round, it's 20 models.
So Ice and
models.
Fire, if I remember, it's reinforcements, right? Not bringing back dead guys.
Yeah. Well, it's bringing back dead guys, let's be honest. But yeah, you can justify as reinforcements just like in this, but it's a lot rarer in this game.
Okay. For the most part, once they're dead, they're dead.
Yeah.
How big of a role do the transports play? Is it like you have to take them to survive, or?
We haven't played with transports yet.
I never will, because the Asterian transport is an abomination to look at. It looks like, you remember the episode of The Simpsons where Homer got to design his own car? It's like that.
Oh, that looks badass.
It doesn't look badass when you're trying to intimidate your opponent. And I don't think that there's any like giant cup holder in there either.
Would the vehicles in this game be better if they were a remote control somehow?
Everything would be better if it was remote controlled.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think for the scenario, we haven't played with them yet. I think for some of the scenario, like the objective holding, the vehicles would help. You could Rhino Rush in this game, if you remember back what that was.
Yeah, so you speed in there, drop everybody off, and the same turn, go in and just clobber everybody.
Exactly. You're not as effective as if you just charged in on your own, but you're still there.
Is that
so
an orc move right there? For Marauders? Right?
all of them can do it.
Oh, wow, okay. You know what?
Even the flyers come in, they drop the people off, and then that's a short action, and then they can advance on a short action and potentially charge.
Wow. So you're not kidding when you talk about economy of gameplay. You can get a lot of shit done in a turn. You don't have a lot of those setup turns.
No.
Like you're doing stuff every turn.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the guns only have like an 18-inch range. So if you're just playing with people with regular guns, that first round you're kind of getting into position, but by round 2 you're in range and you can shoot.
I heard Biran too in there. I heard of Biran. That dwarf tank, would that be good to hold like a door open too?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Howie's Choppa. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that would be kind of like if the models are cheap, but if you are a little more shrewd with your money, it can do two things. I like that.
They're not as cheap as they used to be.
Oh no. So right now, Mike, you say, I say you sold me. I can't wait to dump my entire paycheck into this game. What's the real cut? How much does it really cost to build a good size army?
Well, okay, so the starter set is $135, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and you get the starter set's an awesome deal. You get the rule book, the force book, all the tokens, some dice, the command dice, 30 marauders, 4 armored dudes, the 2 rainmakers and 2 of the other guys, and some other guys, and then enforcers. You get 4 jet bikes, 5 path peacemakers, and 20 enforcers.
Okay, sounds like
fabulous deal.
What you described, I heard 34 models and 30 models. You said it was 135. I'm looking for 135 models. I want that 1-for-1 ratio. When I buy models, I look for dollar to model, 1:1. I'm not getting that here.
You're not getting that with any game.
Wait,
You're not getting that with meeples.
I beg to differ, Mike. You ever go to Grognard's on an auction day, or whatever the fuck it's called, garage sale, whatever?
Yeah. It's pretty close to that. And the army deals are $100, and you usually get a vehicle, and depends on the army how many you get, but you get a fair. They're pretty good deals.
So realistically, dropping maybe 250 to 300, you get a good size army.
Oh, it's less than that.
Oh, it's much less than that.
Way less than that.
Okay.
Basically, if you get a starter box, you've got a decent army. You got almost 1,000 points.
Oh,
I think
okay.
in the
Oh,
in the
okay.
2-player starter set, it's 750 points each faction.
I think I was misunderstanding when you talked about you were playing smaller games. Well, you call smaller games, but that actually is the game, like what they say to play, right?
I would
I
think
call it the
1500 really
standard
would
game.
be.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Okay.
I would like to try
A weeknight
1500
game points total. Maybe on a weekend you go to 1500.
Well, I mean, like 1,000-point game, we finish in an hour and a half. So 1,500 points, we could probably finish in 2 hours, 2.5 at the most. So,
does this game scale up to have big battles or no?
The rules do, I guess. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah.
What about a mega battle at the store?
That sounds horrible.
Yeah. So
I don't
here's
want
what
to
you get.
assemble more of these models than I absolutely.
No, Ryan, here's what you bring. You get to bring 3 Asterian flyers. That's it. That's your whole army, and you stand behind them and you wait for someone to call on you. How fucking cool! How cool would that? You wait to be called on.
Are there enough firefights?
No, I'm going to do that
a
at
mega battle?
next year.
The bulk of the gameplay is people just on their phone waiting. That sounds amazing.
You'll be in that room that's next to the room where Blood Bowl happens, the Mantic room, and you'll be surrounded by those Mantic people that only play Mantic but play all the Mantic games.
At Adepticon, yeah, it's a little scary. So good segue, Biran. So if you get into this game, a game you get into, we all can agree on that at least.
It's not a side game.
It's not a side, it's a full-on battle game. You're buying models, you're assembling, you're thinking about it. Is this 2-part question for any of the crew or all of the crew? Is it one enough to make the leap into all of the suite of Mantic games, and or B, you can answer either one or both, is it enough to overcome any sourness?
I don't have much sourness.
Well, you're a ray of
Salter
sunshine.
painted,
Like
Mike?
you don't get angry at
Salter painting is sourness. You can't answer that. That's a Blood Bowl joke, everybody. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. So no sourness on your end.
I don't have a lot. I mean,
Mike doesn't
I think
get
they
sour.
fucked up Dread Ball,
doesn't get
but
sour.
I don't take that out in the game.
Mike gets sour. I think.
I get sour. I was pissed off at how they botched the Dread Ball release, and they basically killed that game. But it's a good game.
I saw that.
I think all of us can agree that
their
Mantic makes good rules.
Yes.
Good rules, bad decisions.
Yes.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
They launched that board game division. The first comment was, "What happened to Dread Ball? Is it dead?" They're like, "Unfortunately."
No more
Yeah.
Kickstarters. We found
It's
a
not
different
really in a
platform.
board game. It's a fucking board game.
Right. Just fucking say yes and never come out with it. You know what I mean? Like, just lie. Don't actually say no, it's dead. But fucking string people along. Come on. Everyone knows that's what they're looking for. So, Mike, you didn't have any sourness. So that question aside, you're not really playing a lot of other. Are you still playing Kings of War? Or did you take a little break from that?
I haven't had time because the Kings of War Day is a Monday, and Mondays are bad days.
I think one could always find excuses if one is looking for excuses.
No,
My question for
Mondays
Ryan and Mike.
are. I come home at 7:30 at night, and I am barely standing. So
My question for Ryan and Mike is, where does this stand in the pantheon of Mantic as far as your favorite to least favorite Mantic games?
Now, Pantheon is where it takes place.
The pantheon is like,
Yes.
yeah. So
Oh, that's
Mike, I think Mike's favorite game is probably Kings of War. Is that fair? Your favorite Mantic game, Kings of War?
Wait, Kings of War is Pantheon? Just so I'm clear. Which one's in Pantheon?
In the
Panthor.
pantheon, like if our entire existence was
Panthor.
governed by gods named Mantic, who would be the most
Okay.
powerful god and who would be?
Thor,
Ronnie, the Bard, of course.
Pantheon is Warpath.
I know you're the Greek.
I was trying to get my
I don't know.
terminology right here.
So, Mike,
I would say Kings of War I've probably spent the most time with.
Yep.
But lately, it's been Dead Zone and this game.
What do you like, this or Dead Zone more?
They're different.
Yes, but answer the question.
I
Right.
don't know. It depends. It depends on my mood. I would play either one. I would argue that I had more diversity of forces for Dead Zone just because this
You have
lower
everything.
model count. Yes. For this game, right now I've got 4 armies at probably at least 1,500 points.
So one shut up. One would be Kings of War, and then 2 and 3 are tied for Dead Zone in.
Yeah, and then again, I haven't played Dreadball in forever, but I would still play that again.
If you played 10 games of Firefight and 10 of I keep confused, Dead Zone, I would think the 10 games of Dead Zone each would feel completely different. Whereas, do you think this game could fall into, because 40K has that, where after a while you see the pattern of how the game's going to go. Do you think this game could fall? I mean, I'm not trying to knock it, but it's like it's a battle game that you essentially are going to have a similar force each time with a couple tweaks.
I agree, JP, because like 40K, no matter what the scenario is, it feels the same. And Dead Zone, every game feels pretty different.
Yeah, Dead Zone, they were really good with the scenarios, and I haven't played this game enough to know how the different scenarios play out. But yeah, I can see that point. You kind of get your units that you know are good, and you're going to be taking them every time.
But you're fortunate that you mix it up a lot in Dead Zone. You played a lot of different forces too in Dead Zone. So,
oh yeah.
So Ryan, for you in the Mantic list hierarchy, where do you rank this? I know you're not a big Dreadball fan, so.
You know what? I haven't played that game in a long time. I liked it when I played it, but that's going on, probably 7 or 8 years at this point.
Because I know you have a general version of sports-based games, so.
I do, yeah.
But that one's so different from most sports where it gets a pass a little bit. But
Dead Zone is my favorite. This I need to play it more, but this has potential to be. I think this is probably under Dead Zone, right under Dead Zone right now.
But it's fun to be able to take the bigger stuff.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it is. If you're looking at it, like in terms of just like raw activation numbers, which is now how I think of everything. The number of activations are probably similar to Dead Zone, except for in this one you do get to take your big robots or whatever, which is cool. But I think that as we play more scenarios, I think that's really going to dictate like how samey it feels over time. Because that is what Dead Zone does very well, is like the scenarios are all like really different. And I feel like the 40K scenarios, like they're either all, more or less the same, or the ones that are different have like the really complicated deployment zones that nobody wants to set up.
You don't even use half of them don't even get played.
Yeah.
I took all those cards.
We discarded any cards that had complicated deployments.
Yeah.
Hey, and that's your right. You bought the game. Play as you wish.
That's right.
I was gonna say
for me, for 40K 8th edition, the most fun recollection I have is individual where say Ryan's got his AdMech robots that just decimate, or something crazy happens, like I didn't fire a single shot and I only had 1 wound left. And it's the individual moments that I like, but I think doing alternating activations could create more interesting stories for the entire scope of the game, whereas the entire scope of a 40K game is just like, eh.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's all when I think about 40K and I think about the fun parts of 40K, they are all crazy moments.
Yes.
And most of them actually involve games between the two of us.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that was something too that I always encountered with 40K, and as for having a love-hate relationship forever, 25, whatever, how many years, it's like what I found is if I brought the same force each time, and opponents I played, say there was a small group of friends playing that, it would get very stale. What I found is some of the best parts of 40K occur before the game even starts, because it's like, what do you want to do? Let's go more on the big stuff side, or let's go more on this. It becomes a game within a game that is sometimes more fun almost all the time than the actual game itself.
That's
And
what I enjoyed
I
about our
work-
7th edition, JP, is our own internal one-on-one
Yeah.
meta. Oh,
That
you're
was
buying
fun.
that? Well, shit, I gotta buy this.
Yeah, there's a certain level of, like, I used to always say that it's a 5-part game, and playing is only one of those. It's the the buying, the collecting, but the list building, the matchups, just all those things. With this one, based on telling me that you're largely going to have the same core force each time, is that a safe assumption to say?
Well, there's not. I mean, you could go different ways with each team, because you can have multiple commanders, right? And each commander has their own unique command ability that they can use. So you have
like
army command abilities, right, that you spend your command dice on, and then you have leader command abilities, which your leaders have to do. And I can't speak for any other army, but I know the Asterian ones, they have there's a Kalishi commander that can, that buffs Kalishi. There's the lizard commander that buffs the lizards. There's the other 2 commanders buff the robots.
Okay.
One of them buffs anyone with shields. The other one buffs anyone with the robot guns. So you could kind of branch out and go heavier with one versus another, but at the end of the day, it's not like any of these Mantic armies have like a million different units in them.
Well,
so that will always hold it back a little.
That does add some variance, which I like, because that was something that Ryan, you and I talked about. We liked about Ice and Fire is that when you have a commander, you play your army differently because it's all built around that one with the cards and all that kind of thing. So would you say in Firefight, could you and I take the same faction, but actually truly feel like 2 different armies, or probably not?
Definitely not to the degree that you do in Ice and Fire, just because of the command cards are what really changes how that stuff feels. But depending, again, you could go heavier with one thing versus another thing. And that would change it somewhat. They would play a bit differently, but I don't think they're going to play radically differently.
Like more on the margin,
at least not they get more units. And that's like a thing where Mantic had spent so many years just releasing like campaign supplement books for Dead Zone instead of actually releasing models. That now that they have a game that they could like use more model diversity in each faction, they're a little behind the 8 ball, and hopefully they can catch up somehow, because each faction I think probably does need a little more unit diversity.
So let's talk about that. So now,
before we get to that, JP,
someone gave me
before we get to that, what I really want to hear is about Mike's game against Piana. Mike played against.
All right, so he was bringing his Forge Fathers. I was bringing GCPS. We ended up playing the same scenario that Ryan and I rolled, and it's one of those ones where there's like objectives in your deployment zone, in the middle of the field, and in the opponent's deployment zone, and you get victory points based on, the farther away from your deployment zone, you get more victory points. Yep. You do not get victory points for killing other units. It's just holding those things. And he was playing Forge Fathers, and I was playing GCPS, and I just had more models, more units. So GCPS is basically a horde army, and I was able to just get more of those objectives. So
you just swarmed them and grabbed them, and that was the game.
I was able to move out. And again, it uses unit strength for holding objectives, kind of like Kings of War does. So each unit has a unit strength. So the Peacekeepers are unit strength 2. So you would need 2 other units to basically contest that objective.
They count as more.
Yes.
So by you beating Piant, He picked up the tab of sweet tomatoes afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just checking.
Now I remember, but now how is PF from a salty level? Because I remember one time, Kings of War, he played against what's it? Poop Check. And Poop Check had a bin maxed army of angels, and it decimated Pian. How did he react to his loss?
He was fine.
Okay.
It wasn't as close. It wasn't a decimation.
Okay. So as long as it's not yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we both made mistakes because that was his first game and my second. So
because I actually love playing games with Pian.
Oh yeah,
he's a fun.
He's a great guy.
Weird.
Yep.
Let's grab that soundbite. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a.
And he has so much Forge Father stuff.
Yes, he does.
He went, balls deep with.
I suspect he got my Kickstarter stuff in error, so he got doubled.
Could have. What does Pian and Poop Check both have in common with me?
Well, only one's got a ponytail.
No, it's not physical. Extreme.
They both bought your armies.
That's right. Poop Check bought all my Kings of War Abyssals, which I didn't even put them together. I was at Adepticon. I had a big fucking like Santa-sized bag, and I think I even walked around like this with it.
Yeah.
And
So how you got the Mantic?
Yeah. Who wants this? $40. Well, I'm in. And then Pierre bought when Warpath had those 3 rule books, and then a bunch of like
in a slipcase. Yep.
He picked up all those from me, and so both of
I
them
stuck
took
my
it off
slipcase rule books onto Grognard shelves.
That's good. It's a good spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of a slipcase, but like even right out of the box, they were already like warped and fucked up.
Well, you have to be careful because in the back of the slipcase is where it folds in. You got to put that one in first and butt it up against the folding part to put the other.
Well,
part.
and as we've seen, especially in like the comic side of like, if the actual slipcase itself is shitty, it's like you want to put it in with the binding out so you can see it. However, it's going to protect them better, or slide in better on some of those, because that was a real flimsy case. And I just remember like, please take this off my hands. Those rule books don't exist anymore, correct?
Well, they exist, but they're not current.
All mysteriously vanished.
Well, if it never came out, did it ever exist?
Like there was a Mantic Rapture, and they only came.
There was like a Thanos snap.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. In order for said rapture to occur, they would have had to come out in the first place.
Yeah,
that's true. Nobody knows if these exist or how many there might be.
Right.
Let's guess.
I think I sold him that, but I also don't remember if I ever had it.
Did you throw out all your multi-base bases that we bought, those MDF ones?
I think he got all those.
Oh, I threw mine out.
It was a full-on Mantic package. I think all my Mantic deals are $40, like no matter what's in there.
And you throw in everything that's Mantic related that you can read.
Yeah,
when you're
like
box.
yeah, like I forgot who bought all my Dead Zone stuff. That was like $40, just everything in a bag. Just
here's the trophy for that weird campaign for Dreadball. That goes in there.
Throw it all in. Here's 75 Dreadball teams, $40. Throw it in. So what I was going to ask earlier was getting into this game. Now I lost my question. Biran, you wanted to hear about that game, and I lost.
Apologies.
Oh, here, about the models coming out. So where are they now with models? Like, if you said, I want to get everything for Forge Fathers, like Pat, can you do that? And can you only do that because there's not a lot of them? Like, where are they in the model release stage of this all?
They're getting better, but like you can buy the starter army, and that has a lot of the Steel Warriors and the Iron Ancestor and the tank. If you want Brockers, you have to basically get them through Dead Zone expansions. So they haven't like quite. They're slowly putting everything out in more larger.
That's the easiest thing ever. You have the models, put them in a different fucking box.
I know they're working on that. They're getting it, but I would have thought they would have had especially for Forge Fathers, when you're talking about army diversity, you can play 3 basic types of Forge Farmers: all Steel Warriors, all Brockers, or kind of a mix. And the only way to get the Brockers right now is in the either you can find an old Warpath box set or in Dead Zone.
Do we, like, maybe Biran on the screen, we could put help Mantic now, send all of your VHS cases to them
That's
at
right.
once.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking
You
at
can
their website
actually
right
make a
now, and they
difference.
do have the like Brockers branded as Firefight, but I wonder if they just come in a Dead Zone box.
I mean, they're the same models.
Yeah,
So.
and the Brockers
So
are,
those are
I like the
still-
Brocker models a lot.
they're pretty
I
good.
do.
Are they still rustic then?
I think
Yes.
yes.
Man,
The Iron
Yes,
Warriors
the-
are not, and oh my god, they went the Space Marine route of way too many pieces for what it is. They should have done single piece rustic.
I've never put together the Steel Warriors?
Steel Warriors.
Or,
Steel Warriors, yeah.
Steel War- I've never put them together, but when they're done right, like on their website, and they
They look
look
good.
cool to me,
They do.
but I have a feeling it's more trouble than it's worth, right?
Yeah.
No.
The ones I bought were yours hard plastic, Mike?
Yeah, they're hard plastic, but I read online people were talking about like the torsos don't fit in the legs right, and you have to green stuff, and it's like maybe they just use great angles and they look good. They actually go together normal.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with it at all.
There's like a lip on the bottom part too. So when you put your torso in, it kind of covers up the seam.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
okay.
problem wasn't
So-
how they looked. My problem was they should have been single piece rustic.
No, you're talking about the Iron Ancestor, though.
No, Iron Ancestor's fine. Or am I thinking of the?
Every model single piece rustic.
I
Yeah,
think
they're
there's a
not
lot
detailed
of
enough to warrant multi-piece.
I think we're confusing a lot of terms and not talking about the same thing right now.
Is it the
So-
militia that are the old ones?
Yeah, the militia are the old ones, which are basically the Kings of War models with a different,
The gun.
different. No, it's a different top part
Yeah.
with
Oh.
a gun, and those, and again, they're fine too
For what they were.
for what
The
they were.
weapons
Yeah.
platforms are the derpiest of all models, though.
Oh my god, those weapons platforms suck balls. Yeah,
They're so bad. They-
I tried put one together and it was.
it
Yeah,
looks so dumb. Also, the what's the orc guy, the goblin weapon platform that also looks like a golf cart with a border on it.
So on the orc subject, did they finally come out with plastic good looking orcs or no?
Yes, there are the starter set. It's Marauders versus Enforcers, and you get 30 hard plastic Marauder models, and they're decent.
I like them. I like
Okay.
that they're a different look. They look like little
Yeah.
Nazi orcs.
Yeah, I despise the plastic Enforcers.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
whoever made that choice, if we're gonna have separate leg pieces,
They should have stuck with
The
rest. They were so
peacekeepers
much
were-
better.
The peacekeepers are okay, but the regular enforcers are not.
right? Because the peacekeepers have legs and a torso all as one piece, as God intended, and you just put the torso on top of it. Whereas these guys have the abdomen and the torso as one piece, and you got to glue the legs on, and that
The le-
works fine for arms, but not
Yeah.
for legs.
The legs are.
I had to find a
it's
piece
like,
of scenery to make them match up
Well,
on the foot.
the little spot that the leg would go into, it's not very defined,
Yes,
so you can't actually tell. I mean, where
it's supposed to be. Yeah,
where it's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
that's the one problem. The other problem that I've seen with people online, they do this thing where they don't put the shoulder pad or the arm in the right place. So everyone looks like they're sunken down. And I think their arms look like they're growing out of their
They
chest.
look like they have dislocated shoulders sometimes. Yeah.
It's almost like Ryan's aversion to sports games. There's an aversion to Space Marine shoulder pads. Like, don't put it up too high, everybody. You put it up too high, it's Space Marines. So they start to have it droop down and down and down. And I've seen them where the arm pops out the side. And it's like, man, you really fucked up this model. But to their defense, there's no real, like, this goes to this. It's almost, some of these kits are almost like advanced modeler kits
Because
because
they don't include
it's too
instructions
easy.
either.
Well, that, and it's too easy to fuck up. It's just, it's not like a lot of GW models are like, okay, you might not get it at first, but when you fuck up, you know you fucked up, and you can, you know, like, oh, okay.
Once you learn the
maybe it's too
GW
late.
assembly model tactics, you know how to do it for every GW.
But I found with a lot of these Mantic models, you put them together, and you don't know that you fucked up. I mean, someone points it out to you after you've
Like,
assembled
I
and
can't
painted.
tell. It
It's
looks like chewed
okay,
bubble gum.
Yeah. Hey,
They
why do all
mastered
your guys'
restic
arms
so
come
well,
out-
though. They should have stuck with restic.
Yeah. Your guys' arms come out of their stomachs. Did you notice that? Well, now I did.
Well, they're
Thanks.
plague.
I can't
Who cares?
unsee it. Yeah, right, plague. So, Mike, the new orcs finally came out. Those are pretty good.
Yeah,
right?
they're I don't like the feet.
They're like Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, they have Liefeld feet.
So-
but aside from that, they're
but-
pretty decent.
So they have feet or they don't have feet? I'm confused.
It's hard to tell
It's hard
looking
to
at
say.
the model what is actually a plate and what is a part of a strap and what is the boot.
Oh,
But
It's-
aside
and,
from
like
that,
they taper to
everything
a
else-
point. The legs do.
so
and I like how they're wearing actual military outfits, uniforms. So
it's a when in doubt, paint it black.
yeah,
'Cause when you don't know what something is.
yes.
Man, that
It's a fucking
Marauder
group.
Ripper Warlord looks pretty cool, though.
Yeah, the new one, because he's part of the new resin. Mantic, the new Mantic resin is really good.
Mhm.
They do that in house, and that guy's really cool looking.
Yeah,
The
he looks
Ripper
because
Warlord,
he's not sitting like
the
this.
regular. Yeah, they're
When
all
you
like
say-
that, and they
When you
sell.
say they do it in house, is that in Ronnie's house?
Yes,
They're all working
Dexter's
out of
Unpainted
the garage.
Dwarves and his
They're
hat.
like fucking Oompa Loompas in his basement and shit. Is that-
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I know we want to wrap this one up.
I do
anything
want
else?
to say one other thing
Okay.
that they borrowed a rule from Legion is when you move a unit, you move the leader,
And there's
and then everything else just kind of swarms around.
I like that.
I
It's
love
cool.
that.
And I like that. And they actually go into the rules and say sometimes your models will move farther than 8 inches because that's,
And
your,
that's
your 6
okay.
inches or whatever. That's okay.
Do they make you measure from him, or
Yes.
is it?
Yeah.
All measurements are made from your leader. So your leader is like the main guy, and everything else is kind of window dressing.
and that just
when you-
quickens the game up too.
They're basically wounds. They're
Yeah.
basically wounds.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
I'll throw this one out real quick. I know, but as you described that, Mike, it sounds like why did you just leave it with the full base like it was with Warpath then? Why go model by model then, right?
Because you want people
Yeah.
to see it and go, that looks like Warhammer, but cheaper.
I
I'll do
guess.
that.
Well, when I was playing with GCPS, I actually have 10, I got some on Etsy. I got some of those 10, the circles
Right.
that you can put the models in,
Yeah,
and so you
but-
can slide it easier.
But that was the game they had.
Yeah, but
That
that,
was-
was
that-
more like
It was more
that.
like Epic.
Yeah, it was a bit more rigid because you had like these very specific, rectangles that you had to move, and then it's like harder to get them in like terrain and stuff like that. Like this one, the rules so it's like the tabletop, the tape measure version of Dust Tactics did the same thing, where you just move the leader and then everyone goes around them and everything's measured from the leader. But then what this allows them to do that's like a bit cleaner than it would have been with a movement tray
Mhm.
is that like they sort of abstracted the line of sight stuff like Xtreme. It's like War Machine, where it's just bases. You don't care about the model volume, or there's a model height and the terrain has height, a height value. But other than that, it's just you're just looking to see if you can see bases,
Mhm.
and then where those bases are, and in relation to like cover and stuff like that. So you don't have to actually you don't take a model eye view of anything, and it's a pretty
So
clean system.
It's all about that base. No,
It is all
Cover.
about that base.
all about that base, no cover.
No,
I'm looking at the
was a bad
Asteria
joke.
transport and vehicles. Oh,
I told you it's the worst range that Mantic has ever done.
the thing is, like, the big robot model looks super anime and rad to me.
Big Stompy robot?
He's not very stompy.
He's very anime Gundam looking.
I think the Mars Attacks robot is the pinnacle of what they can produce. So
It did look
I would
cool.
agree.
I will give him that. It looked cool for
That's
whatever for the
everything
aesthetic
else.
it was going for.
everything else is fighting for second. Just saying. So for Ryan to say worst range ever, that's a ballsy statement because there's further basements we can get to.
You're not going to find any bodies buried in those basements that are uglier than the Asterians.
I think someone's up for the challenge. I think Ronnie's workshop. So
Everything in the Asterian army that's not Asterian looks good.
I've seen some Asterians painted well and they look cool, but there's a lot of work that goes into make them look cool, and I just don't want to do that. So
is there an active Facebook group for Firefight, or is there like a community really?
Yes, and I am shocked at how many fully painted armies I have seen on that group, the Firefight Fanatics. Because for Dead Zone, you saw some of that, but it's only like 10 models, so it wasn't a big deal. But for Firefight, you've got people with 50, 60 point or model armies, and they're all painted and painted pretty well. So
I'll give the Mantic Fanatics credit in that regard, that they primarily will paint everything they own. I don't see a lot of unpainted Mantic ever, so I will give them credit on that. That when they get into a game, they get into it. So.
Well, if you saw a photo of our game, you would see some unpainted Mantic stuff.
Well, you're also not a full-on fanatic, so you're not.
That's
you're not
true.
part of this, so.
Yeah, all these starter boxes look like a pretty good value to me.
yeah, they really are.
Well, and Biran, you like to shop online, not local, so that should help you as well.
No, I'm not going to buy any of this stuff. I'm just doing research for the show.
I heard you can find it on a shelf at your local game store without a price tag. You just grab it.
Yep. I don't think anyone would stop you walking out either.
Well, because it's probably yours.
Mm-hmm. I'm just reclaiming my property.
Yeah, you already snuck it on the shelf.
Todd gave you a 4-foot section. It's for you to drop stuff up, but also for others to take a penny, leave a penny.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like those little libraries that people put out in their front yards.
That's right. Yeah.
I like that. So Biran, feel free to partake.
Yeah.
It's more of a dumpster dive.
A bit of a dumpster. Let's give some Slurpee ratings on Firefight. So Ryan, Mike, Biran.
Mike would be the most
me.
experienced because he played piano.
Okay.
Yeah, I got 4 games. Ryan's got 3. I'm going to give it a 4. Again, this is it's a good basic set. Like Ryan was mentioning, I think there's some room for expansion, some more units. Rebs need a new faction, nameless, so there's room for expansion. But it's got a good core, so we'll give it a 4.
Okay, good score.
I'm also going to give it a 4, and it's a provisional 4. I think it could be a 4.5, as long if Mantic doesn't Mantic it up. I think the core rules are excellent. It is everything that I wanted 40K to be rules wise. It's a lot of fun. It plays very quickly. You're actively engaged the whole time, like I said, so you're not just like waiting for your opponent to wipe out half your stuff before you can do something. Everything about it's very clean. It's very, very well thought out. Now where the rubber hits the road, and this is where I get nervous with Mantic for anything that isn't Kings of War, is that they need to, it's a situation where like you can't be half pregnant, where you're either like all in or you're not pregnant, right? And they need to commit to this game, and by committing to this game with new units, you're also committing to Dead Zone at the same time. But yeah, it's awesome. They need more units for all of these factions. They don't, obviously they're going to get Rebs in there, they're going to get Nameless in there, but once they do that, they really need to start. You don't want like a 40K thing where 40 has like a million factions. And then some of those factions have a lot of stuff because they've been around for 40 years, and some of them have been around for like 10 years and they have a fraction of the stuff. Mantic doesn't have the bandwidth to have a bunch of factions, and I don't want them to keep making stuff like that. I was like surprised that they, like, oh, we're going to do Nameless, right? And
fill out your six factions first before doubling.
Fill out your 6 factions first.
Yeah,
go deep before you go wide.
Yes. I think that's really crucial, like having diversity, because right now all the factions play very differently, and that is super cool. And again, like Mike for his enforcers, he went so the enforcers all have a 6+ armor, right, which is very good. But he took a bunch of medics, which gives everyone resilient 1. And then the Peacekeeper captain, his command ability is everyone within 12 inches of him get resilient 2. So now he has these armor 6 guys, and in this game, resilient means that when I'm rolling to wound Mike's guys, he can, if he has resilient 3, if I have 3 6s or 7 or 8 or whatever, he can make me re-roll 3 of those dice. And that is absolutely backbreaking. And that's one way to play that faction, like just like a brick of armor that is impossible to get through.
That sounds like some
but you could also,
right there.
Yeah, it sounds really annoying, actually.
it was really difficult to deal with. And the other thing is Mike actually built his list to deal with my robot. So that's why he had a bunch of rocket launcher guys, and then I forgot the robot at home. So the rocket launcher guys are still good, because they get like 2 dice. They get 2 dice each and like EP like 4 or 5, and it's also bananas. But enforcers, because they're guys, they have melee guys. The melee guys pretty decent melee. They have the fast guys, the scouts or whatever. So you can kind of mix and match, but they really need more units that do different things that fit within the theme of the faction. So if Mantic does that, this game is a 4.5 for me. Right now it's a 4, and then it would go down if they don't do that, just based on disappointment, because it's a really, really good game.
Yeah,
and it's nice to see them, because the last time they tried this firefight thing, it was clearly just them trying to capitalize on 40K and get people with 40K models come in and play a Mantic game. And it's Mad God is now streaming, Mike.
Yeah, I saw that.
My thing just popped up on my iPad. It was clearly a ploy to rip off 40K. And Mantic, we have all gone back and forth about this quite a bit in our private chat, about how Mantic really needs to stop worrying about Games Workshop and having a chip on their shoulder about everything, and just do what they do best, which is make very good rule sets. And preferably all their models would be in resin, because they're not as good at making the other kind of models. Actually, preferably they get better at making hard plastic.
I agree. Either stand on your 2 feet, or have the chip and be the we're the alternative. We're trying to take pot shots at pick a lane you want to be in. You want to play with the big boys, do your own thing, or do you want to be we're just trying to take a little chunk of the pie away?
They should just, what they should do is and that's the nice thing about this version of Firefight, it is truly its own game.
That's awesome to hear.
It's a little bit Dead Zone. It's a little bit Vanguard, which I've never played, so I'm just going off of what Mike has told me with the way those command abilities work. It uses the same command dice as Dead Zone.
Okay.
And then it's got some other stuff, some other secret sauce, in the recipe there. And so it's a really good game. And if they support it properly and don't just like, hey, we're the budget 40K, because that's not, 40K players are 40K players. They're not jumping shit. They're not going to see those. They're not going to see the Asterian models and be like, oh, that's the game I want to play. That's not happening.
Very true.
So if they just be Mantic and dive deeper into each of the factions they already have, they're not going to take over 40K, but they don't need to, and that shouldn't be. Nobody should have that illusion.
And that's a great point. Don't try to steal a chunk of that audience. Find your own audience. And
that's what like our sales guy at work, sometimes if our sales guys can steal someone else's business as a low-hanging fruit, that's fine. But really, you got to build new business because the people when you steal business, those people could be fickle, right? This stuff comes and goes.
Well, and they move from one to the next one. How do you know you're not going to get moved on from next?
Yeah, back to 40K probably.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if they don't mess it up, I think it could be a big deal for them.
A very comprehensive 4 from Ryan.
It's a very comprehensive 4.
Biran, you've played?
No, God no.
We're gonna pretend like you did. You're next.
Okay, I played 87 games. I was gonna go to 3.5, but I'm gonna go to 3 because Mantic makes good rules, but Mantic is Mantic, so they get a 3.
It's it went from a 3.5 to a 3 on this episode, I think, with you.
It did.
Well, it's just the more you think about it. And again, they make such good rules and good games, but what they did with like the first edition of Dead Zone and then the second edition of Dead Zone was just a travesty. Like the inmates were running the asylum. They weren't putting out new models for it. It's like, oh, we're going to redo the Nexus side. It's like, nobody's asking for that stuff. So it's hard to get that Mantic stink off of something.
Inmates running the asylum, were these rules done by people or the company or?
The company.
Okay.
They actually have like a full-time designers there now, I think.
Not just coach.
And they're awesome.
On a Slack channel.
Or like we reached out to Fiverr, found a couple guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Xtreme, you want to go?
Sure. I respect the fact that the rules sound pretty awesome, and I believe that they would be because Mantic gets their rules right. But this is a hard sell for me because I don't like sci-fi mass battle games at all. So I'd be much more prone to play Dead Zone over this. But I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay. I'm going to agree with Xtreme on the not liking sci-fi, but the hard pressed to kind of even give it a try. I think Legion is a phenomenal sci-fi battle game, and that's the pinnacle, I think, of how sci-fi battle games should play. I'm not against trying Firefight at some point. I just don't see it happening unless I'm forced into it somehow. And who's going to force me? Who plays it besides you guys? It's not a lot of push
physically,
behind
like put your arm behind your back and make you play.
Yeah. Apply a hammer lock and force me to roll dice with the other leftover hand.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see anyone even pushing hard to play this. They don't. The community side, I haven't seen it yet. So I wouldn't mind showing up to a demo day somewhere at a store if they're demoing Firefight. I don't see that ever happening anywhere that I go. So it's going to be a 3 until proven otherwise.
Mantic is an albatross on their own neck.
That gives us an overall of a 3.4.
Okay.
Solid score again for
3.4.
Mantic. Mantic is always solidly above average.
They are. So follow Zlurpcast online. Thanks, Ryan, for coming on. Ryan, anything you want to plug? Little Dead Sacraments action?
No.
Zlurpcast! Brought to you by Nuffles. Bet you can't just roll a 1.